The reason they act so defiantly is because it's their developmental mission at this stage as teenagers to push us away. And the way they do that is by being oppositional. It's by disagreeing with us. It's by asserting themselves. And the thing to remember as a parent is, if you can, because this is hard, but is to not take it personally. It's really, you want them to go through these are psychological stages that they need to go through, differentiation and individuation, to get to autonomy, which is a desirable state. And that happens when they're, in their early 20s, where they're both separated and connected to us as parents at the same time. So a lot of their behavior is they're experimenting with their identity, with their opinions, and the people that it's easiest to test that out against is their parents. So in some ways you should feel, you can feel grateful that they feel comfortable enough with you to act in their worst possible ways, because they know that you're going to continue to love them and support them. But if you cannot take it personally, it's really helpful. And there's actually research that shows that they did broad research amongst lots of teens, and they found that 80% of teens like their parents, respect their parents, and enjoy spending time with them. So even though it feels like you're always in some kind of a conflict, know that underneath it all, they really enjoy you and respect you and want to spend time with you. It just doesn't always look that way. And that's hard. That's really hard as a parent, to feel like you're always being criticized. I have a friend who said she knew her daughter was at her worst when she said to her, "Mom, why do you walk so weird?" And it's like this criticism, this constant rejection of who we are can feel really personal. And part of the reason for that is that the period before the teenage years is called latency. And that period is roughly aligned with ages like 5 to 11. And that's the least conflicted, most pleasant, easiest phase of a human being's life. So what's really hard is we go from this stage when, we have a good relationship with our kids, we get along with them, they enjoy being with us, and then overnight it seems like all of a sudden they've turned against us. A monster has invaded them. So you just have to keep that in mind, and when you are feeling constantly rejected, to just try and remember that it's not about you. It's a phrase that they have to go through, but it's not about you. So you need to take care of yourself. I really emphasize that in the book, the importance of self-care as a parent of teenagers, because it can feel like you're constantly under attack. So you have to do things that keep you feeling steady, calm, maintaining your equilibrium, everything from like eating right and getting a lot of sleep, but exercising, spending time with friends, being around people who do value you and appreciate you and show you the love that you're not getting from your teenager. And I would say there are 3 reasons that mindfulness helps. One is it's a stress reducer. I mean, there's all sorts of research that shows that people who practice mindfulness have, lower blood pressure, they have better heart health, they have a subjective sense of well-being. Over time, it builds up your immune system to meditate. So meditation is sort of the path to mindfulness, because it helps you to get present. So that's another reason to practice mindfulness, is to stay present. Because when you're present, you're not worrying about the past or wondering what's going to be happening in the future. You're just in the moment that's right now. And all of us have really busy brains. You know, in Buddhism, they call it the monkey mind, which goes a mile a minute. And so in parenting, the way this can play out is you can spend a lot of time worrying about things that have happened or things that might happen, rather than just being present with the kid that you have now. So for instance, if your child came to you with a D on a math test, the way your mind works, you might be thinking, oh, I knew that they should have studied harder. I knew they weren't paying attention, sort of judging and criticizing for the behavior that went before that got to this point. Or you can spin out in the future, oh, this bad math grade means they won't get into the high math class, which then they won't get into the good high school and college, and they won't get a good job, and they'll end up, destitute and on the streets. So that's the way our minds go. It's extreme. It doesn't really make sense, but if we aren't present, that's what can happen. And when you're present, you're in a much more sort of fair-minded, problem-solving, compassionate state. And you just realize it was a bad grade on a math test, and maybe they just had a bad day. Maybe they needed more sleep. Maybe they need to go back and re-look at that particular concept. But that's a much more constructive way of being than the place that we can go to of fear and anxiety when we're not present. So reducing stress, staying present, and then the final thing is practicing mindfulness just gives you more insight into your own reactivity as a parent. So part of what we're trying to do is reduce our reactivity. Our teens trigger us all the time. So if we can reduce how reactive we are, then we can stay calmer. And that will have the effect of making our teens stay calmer, because calmness is contagious. So those three reasons: reduces stress, keeps us present, and gives us some more insight into our own reactions so that we can slow them down. My recommendation is to make it as easy as possible. So to just do it for very short periods of time. Say to yourself when you wake up in the morning, okay, for 2 minutes before I get on with my day, I'm going to try and meditate. Or at the end of your day, for 1 minute, I'm going to meditate. Some people, so part of it is finding what part of the day works for you. For some people, it might be in the middle of the day when their kids are off in school. But start slow, start with small amounts of time. A lot of people find it useful to listen to some kind of an app on a phone. If you don't know how to meditate, there's some great free apps out there that will help you to start the process. And actually, I have a website, and on my website, there's some audios of some meditations. And so that's a great way. They're free, that people can have access to them. And that is a great way to start too. And meditations that are on my site are specifically written and read for parents. So I think that can be helpful. So some meditation is very general, but some of these are very specific to parenting teens itself. And the other thing I was just going to say, if you can't meditate, just take one really deep, intentional breath. Just stop yourself at some point in your day and just whew. And even that has the effect of, getting more oxygen to your brain, soothes your nervous system, and that doesn't take a lot of time. So, you could even set a timer on your phone or something, that rings once or twice throughout a day. It's like, okay, when I hear that, I'm just going to stop, pause, take a breath, and regroup before I go on with my day. If you do it with intention, if you do it as a way to create a pause in your busy life, it can shift your energy a little bit so that you just feel a little more grounded. So the partner, the woman that I developed this program with, a psychologist named Ann Aurora, calls mindfulness and mindful listening a parent's superpower. And really, it's just it's the act of listening with all your senses. It's focusing on your teen and really paying attention to what they're saying in an open, curious, non-judgmental way. And that is really hard for us as parents because, there's so much information we want to make sure we impart to them. We feel like we have limited time with them before they go off to university. So we need to, or if they move out of our houses. So we need to impart information, values, what's right, what's wrong, how to be a good citizen, how to be a good human being. So we often sort of overdo it in terms of our part of the conversation. And if we can really just slow down and stop and listen to what they're saying, we sometimes can learn a lot. And rather than, again, that busy brain of ours having all sorts of ideas and judgments and comparisons about what they're saying, to try and to put that aside and just be really focused on what they're saying and learning and feeling. And that helps us as parents learn about them and understand what's going on. Whereas when we do that, coming in with lots of things to say, that can really shut them down and they're not going to share with us. So, having the intention to I'm just really going to listen here and not try to teach a lesson in this moment, that can really change the dynamic. And that's often when kids start telling you things that you haven't heard before, is because you've finally given them enough space that they can, tell you what's on their heart and in their mind.